of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristato. Chapter 65, Monday, Part 5. Re-entering the stark, blaringly white lobby once more. Good. Did he have to go through the scanners again? He had multicolored dots pinpricking his vision, for God's sake. Shouta was more than a little surprised to see All Might, billowing cape and all, stood beside a rattled-looking Kenji-san. Good grief. He didn't know who had let the proverbial cat out of the bag, and he didn't know really why the number one pro would have specifically come down here just to see him. Unless he was here on other business. But from the way the pair were acting, false cheer on one side, stiff politeness on the other, something was up. But honestly, he'd just been to visit the crotchety old bastard as a favor. It wasn't a big deal. And hey, he'd make pies 6 days of the week anyway, so making one more wasn't going to cause any additional hassle, wasn't? Plus, in exchange for information that had helped to make the pros and police forces' lives easier, their ability to foil villains and save lives, well, as far as he was concerned, Shigaraki could have as many pies as he wanted. It was a damn good job he hadn't asked for muffins, though. He couldn't imagine that would have gone down well.
Ah, Shouta, good afternoon.
Hi, he replied, his smile wry, his right brow cocked.
Fancy meeting you here,
he furthered, his tone lightly teasing.
This sure is a coincidence.
He added glibly, the blonde's exaggerated cheer morphing into an awkward, ostentatious laugh that really wasn't fooling anyone, whilst he approached the desk to collect his items. Happily, his Hello Kitty bauble was still there, alongside his arguably more important personal effects.
Well, you see, I was out of patrol when Nemori texted me.
Nemori? Surely, as a pro herself, she would have known that he'd be safe. It seemed quite strange to think that she'd messaged Toshinori when she was thoroughly aware of the situation he'd opted into, never mind volunteered to help out at the Noronako until he got back.
Over the concerns that she and your boys had about how long you'd been gone and...
My boys, huh? He thought, his head having to turn away from the man so valiantly explaining why he'd come rushing over, undoubtedly worried and probably definitely overthinking why he'd come to Tartarus today, and covering his mouth to try and smother his laughter. Poor Nemori, I fear that you and Toshinori have been played by two very sneaky, insanely intelligent teens and an incredibly capable 7-year-old mastermind, he chuckled mentally. Such good kids. He just hoped that this was a prank and not something they'd done out of genuine worry. It was no doubt to pay the R-rated hero back for the bet they'd made, which she'd won, apparently. He really needed to get him soon, didn't he? You'd have to think how to frame his every other monthly prison visits, wouldn't he?
I thought I'd just, come back, to see if everything was okay since a certain someone, and I had promised that your involvement with him was very much concluded,
Turning back around, his wallet and keys secure in his suit's jacket, his hair tied into its usual casual messy bun. It was too hot just to leave it down at the moment. Shouldn't a place like this have better aircon? Shouta huffed at him good-naturedly before making an approach, his eyes rolling.
Oi,
he snorted.
Firstly, don't go leaning on Kenji-san. He's had it tough in the morning without you literally muscling in to brood over his afternoon,
he stated, his smile softening when the lieutenant relaxed a little, those bugle features fond as he gave a small polite bow.
Secondly, you don't have to make excuses for checking up on me if you were worried. It's really kind of sweet of you,
he added, his lips pulling into something a little more playful despite himself.
You wear your heart on your sleeve, you big dope. So you need to be more careful with it, alright?
He told him, his features softening before his other brow arched.
So, you're the more thrilling option for getting me home, are you?
He asked, a sprinkling of mirth peppering his tone when the other, who'd gone from sulking to suitably admonished and apologetic to sweetly bashful, rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly, his cheeks pinked.
Oh, well, yes. Yes, if that's something you'd be okay with.
When he'd been talking with Toshinori inside of Tartarus, he'd been under the assumption that the man had driven here in his flashier, much faster car. He'd imagined that since the vehicle's driver was All Might, he'd have special permissions to drive at speed through the city streets. It wasn't too unrealistic to think that maybe there were hero-only access tunnels knitted into the underground, running over top of the public subway system. Apparently that was not the case, for as they left the 3 concrete steps he'd walked up to enter the prison that morning, there was no cars other than Sugarame-san's in the small, highly secured parking lot overlooked by 2 huge, ominous ebony towers brimming with armed guards, mounted guns, and currently inactive wide-lensed spotlights.
Okay, let's get you home then.
There were no motorbikes, blimps, or dune buggies either. Huh.
And how are you going to do that exactly?
He asked, his expression a little nonplussed as he looked back at the towering blonde, those beautiful neon eyes glinting.
You can't teleport, can you?
He asked, a light breeze blowing past them as the older of the 3 seemed to cover a laugh with a cough.
No.
The blonde blinked, his expression owlish, before he took a few steps towards him, those massive arms opening wide as he grinned. That soft pink dusting his nose and cheeks was more.
But at the speed I could travel at, I can sort of fly,
Yes, well, I fail to see how that'll help me get... Oh my god. He stopped himself, his form bulking, whilst he regarded the other incredulously.
You want to carry me home?
He asked, his disbelief palpable.
I won't drop you or hurt you or anything else, but...
The other was quick to answer, his flesh becoming redder, as he gesticulated wildly, his booted feet hopping him in place, whilst he was sure he could hear Kenji-san guffawing into his handkerchief. His face was getting pretty hot too, wasn't it? And to think that he liked the guy! Traitor!
That's not the point.
He fumbled, his brows scuffing towards his hairline at the sheer, unadulterated irrationality of it all.
What if someone sees me? We could go so high and so fast that you'd be blurring any photographs and we can circle around the city center. Most people won't be in the residential areas right now, will they?
The other countered, his tone hopeful, pleading. Did he want to carry him so badly? His cheeks were burning hotter, and that weird curling warmth was back in his chest.
What about bugs? Whiplash?
He asked, his panic strangely mixing with some kind of weird adrenaline-spiked desire to try it. He'd always loved roller coasters, and he was definitely in safe hands, but if he was riding piggyback style, wouldn't the cape get in the
way? There won't be many bugs up at the height we'd reach, and, with your head, pillowed on my chest and shoulder, your neck will be fine, won't it?
Wait, so the number 1 was thinking of throwing him into a reverse fireman's carry? That was a illogical choice, though, wasn't it? It probably wouldn't be good for his back, and it'd thoroughly crease his second-best suit, wouldn't it? But, looking at the man, he appeared so eager in that same cute, excited way his dots were when they wanted to show him their latest test scores or involve him in one of their games. He found he couldn't say no. And besides, this would be a faster, more efficient, and ego-friendly. A little voice that sounded like Harry's center sibling Tadeo, so ethically minded, whispered in the back of his mind. Way to get home, wouldn't it? Thinking about the situation logically, it wouldn't do to spurn Toshinori, jump into the back of the lieutenant's car, and get stuck in midday traffic.
Okay. If you're sure I'm not wasting your time, then yes, I'll accept your offer to take me home. Yes, but I really will make sure that you... Yes, that's great.
Not being able to hide his laugh snort this time, Shouta rolled his eyes fondly, moved his phone and keys to the inside breast pocket of his jacket, which had a hidden zip just to be safe, and let out a sigh, his face finally returning to its normal pallor until...
Yes, well, let's get going then, shall we? What?
Toshinori, in one swift, stupefying movement, had scooped him up.
Is that comfortable, Shouta-kun?
into a bridal carry.
Yeah, but, okay, here we go.
The sun-kissed man called, his smile magnificent as he bent his knees, a powerful aura crackling around them both. Wow, it made his skin tingle.
Hold on tight, Shouta-kun. Hold on to what?
And even as they rocketed into the flawless azure sky, he could have sworn he heard Kenji-san, whom he stuck up for twice. That well-meaning, kind-hearted bastard would pay for this. Bark out a laugh, even over his raspy cry. The bro's joyous laughter and the flapping of that impressive billowy cape. Shit! Having thrown his arms around the other's neck, the G-forces that weighed him down in the first instance so blessedly gone, Shouta was immeasurably pleased that he'd tied his hair back so he could see the roiling sea, vivid royal blue spotted with white foamy peaks, beneath them.
Wow.
He called through a laugh, the ridiculously strong arms cradling him so gently, a reassuring presence as he sat up a little higher, his head craning around to take in the full panorama as they sailed above it all. The long bridge he and the lieutenant had been stuck on was to his left, and to the right, Musitafu like he'd never seen it before. For along the shoreline, which boasted one of their city's 3 beaches, he could see a few boats dotting the shallows, sunbathers lounging, tourists flocking around the promenade, and then behind them, the spires, towers, and beautifully crafted office blocks sprouted out of the concrete and towards the sky like an array of silver, chrome, and glass works of art. You could barely hear the noises, surely boasting the varied walks of life playing out beneath him, but with a startled chuckle he found himself waving, like a toddler on a train, at a flock of crying gulls as they swooped past them, their formation momentarily broken as they gawked at them and flew off in a huff of torrid wings and loose feathers. They must have made quite a sight for them, huh?
So, what'd you think?
Turning his smiling, astonished face to the powerhouse, whose legs he noticed were kicking at the air to keep them airborne. How? How was that even possible? The gusts of air swirling up and past him created by the sheer force of those impressive limbs. Looking down at him, the eatery owner allowed his own laughter free.
This is incredible,
he told him, his eyes returning to the horizon. He could see one of their neighboring cities, the mountains Katsuki loved to hike through, the forests that ensconced Yue, and farmers' fields spread out like a patchwork of viridians, emeralds, and jades.
"How do you get to do this whenever you want?"
he asked him over the rushing wind gushing through his ears, his head shaking lightly.
"If I could do this, hell, I'd never just want to walk anywhere again, you know."
Then with a blink he realized that they were lowering.
"We're going to touch down on that private road for a second, and as I've learned from experience, it can be a little jarring, so, you might want to, tighten your, hold it around my neck, alright?"
Nodding, because sure, that made sense. Shouta did as advised, its temple lightly brushing against the other's fevered cheek. God, he hoped the other wasn't ill. Oof! Then, in a matter of nanoseconds, he felt the air wheeze back out of him, his eyes screwing shut as he leaned into the other to try and ease the pressure. Gravity was a bitch, wasn't it? His mouth releasing a gasp before that same surreal weightlessness revisited him, allowing him to take a deep, shuddering breath. Damn, it was exhilarating. It was maddening. It was so much better than any roller coaster he'd ever ridden.
"You okay?"
"Yeah." He laughed, his body unfurling a little, his smile having returned full force.
"I'll have to ride you more often now, won't I? Toshinori, are you alright?"
he asked, his smile dropping and eyes widening as the other bolts the entirety of his face, beet red, those lovely blue eyes eaten up by glistening pupils.
"Oh God, are you sick? We should land."
The other tried to cover his face, now looking at anything other than him.
No, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. It's just that Marai is still talking to me through my earpiece, and he told me something quite embarrassing, that's all,"
he explained before.
Oh, look over there. We can see my apartment from here. Ha!
Blinking, trust Sir Night, the known troll he was, to be distracting his new favorite mode of transportation, Shouta decided to humor the other, whom was clearly so easy to tease, poor man, and looked to where he was desperately nodding, his brows lifting a fraction.
"You have a penthouse, right?" Yes, I would love for you to visit me sometime, and with the boys too, of course.
Smiling, his head once more resting upon that somehow soft and comfortable shoulder, the eatery owner nodded slightly.
Yeah, we'd like that.